Hello students. In the last class we learned about different types of errors. Today we are going to learn about exception. So I will take a real world example. Just imagine a car is on the highway. Everything is smooth. All drivers are following the rule. Then the traffic police just has to stand there and control the flow. This is just like a program is running without any error. Suppose if one driver violates the rule, then what should be done? The traffic police has to stop the driver and take the action, right? This is like what happens when an exception is raised during the program execution. So let me explain how an exception is raised with the help of a simple example. I will write a simple example to accept a number from the user. Number is equal to int of input, enter the number. Let me explain how this code works. Copy, paste. If the user enter 8, so input function will accept 8 and it will return 8 in string format. But we want number in integer format. So this string format should be converted into integer by int function. The number has the value 8. I will write one more line. Number is equal to num. I will save the program, run the program. I will write number 12. It prints number is equal to 12. Let me rerun the program. Instead of a number, I will just enter an alphabet A. So what happens? Input function will return A in string format that will be converted into integer. So A cannot be converted into integer format. So what happens then? It shows an error, value error. So that should be handled, right? How we will handle it? For that we have exception handling. This code will raise an exception. So I will cut this code. I have a exception handling command try. So I'll just paste the code inside try block. Okay. So whatever code that raise an exception or that throws an exception should be written within try block. So try block throws an exception or it raises an exception. So that should be handled somewhere, right? So that will be handled in except block. Inside except block, I am writing the code to handle the exception. So I am going to write a print statement. I will write exception occurred. Okay. Now I will save the program and run the program. So I give an alphabet instead of number B. So there is no error. It shows a message that exception occurred. So that is the advantage of exception. If there is any abnormality during the execution of the program, that will be handled by exception handlers. So let me extend this code. I will just change the code. I write number 1 is equal to enter the first number. Number 2 is equal to copy this, paste, change second number. Diff is equal to num1 divided by num2. Print result is equal to diff. I will save the program, run the program. I give first number as 12. I'll give second number as 6. So what is the result? The result is 2.0. Now I will rerun the program. I give the first number as 12, second number as B, This shows exception occurred because there is a value error. It accepts only integer. Again, I will rerun the program. I give 12, give 0. So can you divide a number by 0? It is not possible. So that it might cause an exception, zero division exception, but that will be caught by except block. It shows the message that exception occurred. So what is the problem here? When we get a value error, when we enter a wrong input for num1, and when there is a zero division error, for both these types of errors, it shows same message exception occurred. We want different message. For example, if we enter an alphabet instead of number, it should print the number 1 and number 2 should be a number. If number 2 is 0, it should print 0 cannot be entered for number 2. So how we will write the code? So before except, I can create one more block. So I'll write except value error block. Okay. Now here I can write only numbers are allowed. So if this code raises a value error, that will be caught by value error block. It will print only numbers are allowed. But if it raises or if it throws a zero division error, that will not be caught by value error. That will be caught by except. For example, let me run the program. First number I'll give as 12, second number I'll give as D. Shows only numbers are allowed. Let me rerun the program. I give 12, give the second number as 0, then exception occurred. It is not showing any message for this. So let me change the program. I will add one more except block, that is zero division error. Second number shouldn't be 0. Okay. Now I will save the program, rerun the program. Write 12, 0. Okay. Second number shouldn't be 0. So if you want a particular message to be displayed for particular error, all the errors should be handled independently. So now we have written like this. Can I write this except block before this? Let me save the program, run the program. It shows syntax error. Why? Because except block cannot be written before this value error block and zero division error block, because this is a superclass. This is subclass. This is also a subclass. So there is a concept called classes and object in Python. I will make a short video about that. Now you understand that all the subclasses should be written before superclasses in case of exception handling. Now let me analyze the code. Wherever there is a chance of throwing an error or raising an error, that code should be written within try block. So then we have to write the except blocks. So try block will throw the exception or it raises an exception. Except block will catch the exception and that exception will be handled. So let's see the textbook definition for exception. So exception is a Python object that represents an error. An exception is raised when an error occurs during the execution of the program. Such an exception needs to be handled by programmer so that program does not terminate abnormally. A program may be able to predict a situation where an error may arise during program execution. So when you can write an exception handling code, if the programmer doubts the code might throws an exception, then that code can be handled by using exception handlers. So the programmer has to predict the situation where an error may arise during program execution, so that programmer can include the code to handle such types of errors in the program. So if the programmer thinks that some part of code might produce value error, that can be put in an exception handler and handle that value error exception. So what are the examples for exceptions? Try to open a file that doesn't exist, dividing a number by 0. The exceptions are broadly categorized into two types: built-in exceptions and user-defined exception. So we already learned in first year about functions. So we learned about built-in functions and user-defined functions. The same as that, built-in exceptions are actually defined in Python interpreter or Python compiler. User-defined exceptions are created by the programmer. So look at the textbook definition of user-defined exception. The exception which are already available in Python are called built-in exceptions. They are already available in Python. So when we type their name, the Python interpreter can understand it. Built-in exceptions are usually defined in compiler or interpreter. All exceptions are represented as classes in Python. I already said you that we will be learning about classes later. Now you don't worry about classes. On occurrence of any built-in exception, the appropriate exception handler code is executed. So we learned about value error. So for value error, we need to use value error except block. For zero division error, we have to use zero division except block. So these except blocks or these particular exception handlers displays the reason along with raised exception. So inside value error exception block, we are writing print enter the valid numbers. So inside zero division error, we are writing the appropriate command. So let us take some of the built-in exception and learn it one by one. The first built-in exception is syntax error. So syntax error we already discussed in the last video, but still we'll just recall it once. Python programming language has its own syntax. So we have to follow the syntax, nothing but rules and regulations of Python when we write a program in Python. Here I will write a code print hello. We know that hello is a string. It should be enclosed within double quotation marks or single quotation marks. But I'll just remove one quotation mark and press enter. It shows syntax error because there is a mistake in the syntax. The second one is value error. We already learned about value error. A is equal to int input enter a number. I will enter an alphabet instead of number, so it gives value error. So this D cannot be converted into integer. The third error is IOError. IOError happens you are trying to open a file that doesn't exist. This concept comes in file handling. In the second chapter you will understand it better. I will create a file object and trying to open the file vigin.txt. that I'm opening the file only for reading purpose. R means opening the file only for reading. Okay, so it doesn't give IO error, it gives file not found exception. Why? Because I am using Python 3.11.5. So if you want to see IO error, if you want to see how the IO error is displayed, we can go online. I can type Python to online compiler or interpreter also you can type. Okay, I'll take this. I'll just type here, remove this. I'll type obj is equal to open vigin.txt. So I'm writing vigin.txt, that file doesn't exist actually. I'm opening it for reading mode. Okay, I run this code. Now you can see here IOError. Okay, why it is not showing in my IDLE, instead of that is showing file not found error? Because I already said about classes, there is a concept called inheritance. There are superclass and subclass. So IOError is a superclass. So file not found is a subclass. So we have IOError in Python 2, but in Python 3 they have extended one more class called file not found error. Okay, so this file not found error is a subclass of IOError. So in Python 3 it is showing file not found error, but if you check in Python 2 it will show IOError. So you don't have to worry much about subclass, superclass, inheritance, all those, because all those concepts are not given in the syllabus. For the clarification I explained this. So next type of error is keyboard interrupt. Okay, I will just type a simple example for this. Variable is equal to input, enter the value. So this command is used to accept an input from the user, right? I'll enter. So the Python interpreter expects the user to enter an input. So, but what I'm doing, without entering the input, I will press Control C. So Control C will stop executing. The program will come out of the execution. So, but in between the flow of execution is interrupted. So it's showing keyboard interrupt. So what key I have pressed? Control plus C. If you get an infinite loop also, if you press Control C, the loop will stop executing and the control will come out of the execution. So next one is import error. I will try to import a module that doesn't exist. So last year we learned import math. This math module exists, it will not show any error. Now I will try to import a module called Vigin that doesn't exist. So it shows error. Instead of import error, it shows us module not found error. There is a reason, I'll tell you. Why it shows module not found error? Because in Python 2 there was import error. In Python 3 import error was merged with module not found error. So now in Python 2 it will not show import error, it will show only module not found error. So if you want to check this, you can go online and check once. In the same compiler I will write import Vigin. I'll run the program. It shows import error because that module doesn't exist. So look at this, I have selected here Python 2 compiler so that it is giving import error. Next one is EOFError. So EOFError stands for end of the file error. EOF, end of the file. So I'll give a simple example. Actually this comes in file handling next chapter, but still I'll show you how it works. I'm trying to accept a number from the user. Value is equal to input, enter. Okay, press enter. So Python interpreter is expecting the user to enter a value. So in between I will stop the complete program, complete execution, and I will come to the next cell. For that I will press Control D. So what I have pressed? Control D. Okay. So if you want to stop executing particular thing, you have to use Control C. If you want to stop executing the complete program, you have to use Control D. Okay. So it shows what end of the file error. So when the end of the file is reached, it shows end of the file error that actually comes in the next chapter, file handling chapter. Next one is zero division error. We already discussed this error in the last video, but still I'll explain with a very simple example. 12 divided by 0. It gives zero division error because we cannot enter number by 0. That calculation is not defined. The next error is index error. That also we discussed in the last video, but still I will explain it. So we have a list here with 3 elements. I will try to accept the element at index 7. There is no element at index 7, so it shows index error. Next one is name error. Name error is thrown when you are trying to use a variable that is not defined. Let me write a is equal to 10, c is equal to a plus b. See, here b is not defined, so Python interpreter cannot understand what is b. So it throws name error. So next one is indentation error. If you don't follow proper indentation in a program, the indentation error will be thrown. I will write if 10 is greater than 5, print hello. So we know that before print there should be a tab, right? There should be an indentation, right? But I have not given indentation. So I'll press enter. It shows syntax error. I already said I am using Python 3.11, so it shows syntax error. So if you want to see indentation error, you can go to Python 2. I can write here if 10 is greater than 5, print hello. It shows indentation error. So in Python 3 it shows syntax error, in Python 2 it shows indentation error. So next one is type error. So when you're trying to perform some operation on some type that doesn't support, it gives type error. For example, I write a plus b. Both are string, so you can perform addition, it will perform concatenation operation. So it gives us ab. So if you write 10 plus 5, both are numbers, so it performs addition, so it gives 15. Next, if I write a plus 5, so one is string, one is number, so you can't perform this operation. It is neither concatenation nor addition, so it gives us type error. If you perform any type of operation on any data type that is not supported by the data type, then it gives type error. The last one is overflow error. Now I will write an example. I'll write of 10 to the power 1000. What is this? I am using power function. Using that I am writing 10 to the power 1000. So what will be the value? It will be very huge value, right? Now see, of 10 to the power 1000 is a huge value. I am trying to convert this value into float. So that is not possible. In Python, such a huge value is not supported by float data type. So it shows overflow error. Now look at this, the previous example. All these are class names or built-in names. So it is case sensitive. Just remove capital letter V and replace it with small v. Can you see the color change here? This comes in black color, this comes in violet color. So this comes in black color. So this is different from this, right? Now let's see the textbook explanation. The first one is syntax error. When you make a mistake in the syntax, it shows syntax error. It is raised when there is an error in the syntax of the Python code. Second one is value error. It is raised when a built-in method or operation receives an argument that has the right data type but mismatched or inappropriate values. For example, so we know that int function accepts a string. Okay, takes this string, but it can convert this into integer. But if you write y, see y is also a string, but it cannot convert this into integer type. So the method receives an argument that has right data type but mismatched or inappropriate values. Next is IOError. It is raised when the file specified in a program statement cannot be opened. Okay, so when the file does not exist that you are trying to open, then it shows IOError. You will understand this in the next chapter properly. Keyboard interrupt. So keyboard interrupt is raised when the user accidentally hits the delete or escape key while executing the program, due to which the normal flow of the program is interrupted. So while the program is running, if you press escape or delete button by mistake, it will interrupt the flow of the program, so that it will show keyboard interrupt error. Next is import error. It is raised when the requested module defined is not found. You are trying to import a module which does not exist. Next is EOFError. So it is raised when the end of the file condition is reached without reading any data by input. We are trying to stop the execution without giving the value for input. It will show end of the file error. So this will come in the next chapter. Next is zero division error. So that happens when you are trying to divide a number by 0. Next is index error. If you are trying to accept an element at a particular index and that index actually doesn't exist. Next is name error. It is raised when local or global variable name is not defined. You are trying to use a variable but that is not defined. Indentation error, if you are not maintaining a proper indentation, it will show indentation error, but in Python 3 instead of indentation error it will show syntax error. Type error, it is raised when an operator is supplied with the value of incorrect data type. You are trying to perform some operation on incorrect data type, then it will show type error. Next is overflow error. It is raised when the result of calculation exceeds the maximum limit for numeric data type. Okay, when the value applied to a particular data type or function exceeds the limit, it shows overflow error. So I hope different types of exceptions are clear to you. Next class we will be learning the syntax of exception handling. Thank you.